What if I told you medical spa could be losing tens of thousands of dollars every year without spending another dollar on advertising, without hiring another employee, and without even realizing it's happening? Not because your treatments aren't exceptional, not because your team isn't talented, not because patients don't want your services, but because someone tried to reach you and they couldn't. Or maybe they reach your voicemail and they just never called back. Today, we're going to follow the money. We're going to break down what missed calls and delayed responses could actually be costing your practice using industry research, a hypothetical example, and a little math. And by the end of this episode, I'd like you to ask yourself one simple question: what could this actually be costing my business? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to AI NOVALUME. I'm Lakeisha Brooks, founder of AI NOVALUME, where I help medical spas and aesthetic clinics stop losing patients to missed calls and after hours inquiries with AI receptionists that improve efficiency, elevate the patient experience, and support stronger practice growth through strategy, clarity, and heart. If you're new here, welcome. Today's episode isn't about buying AI. No, it isn't even about replacing your team, your front desk, but it's about understanding your numbers and what your numbers may already be trying to tell you. So let's dive right on in. When most people think about a missed call, they picture one appointment that never got booked. I really don't. I think about everything that could have happened, or could happen because of that one missed call. So imagine someone who's been thinking about getting a treatment for months. Maybe it's Botox, maybe it's a laser skin rejuvenation, maybe it's their very first consultation. They finally decided to pick up the phone. They're excited. And maybe they're even a little bit nervous. They've done the research. They've narrowed it down to your practice. They call and no one answers. Maybe they hear your voicemail, maybe they hang up before the tone. Either way, they still want the treatment. So let's think about this. What happens next? Maybe, some people simply call the next medical spa on their list, not because your practice wasn't qualified, not because your team wasn't capable, simply because someone else answered. Now, think about what one unanswered call could have become: a consultation, a treatment, a skincare purchase, a maintenance appointment every few months, a membership, a referral, a glowing online review, a loyal patient who stays with your practice for years. That's my favorite. And that's why I don't think of missed calls as missed appointments. I think of them as missed relationships, because every long term patient begins with one simple interaction: someone reaching out, hoping someone will answer. Now, let's look at what research industry suggests. Several communication industry reports estimate that 62% of inbound business calls goes unanswered during busy periods. Now, whether your practice is above that number or below it, that's not today's point. The point is this: every unanswered call represents someone who was interested enough to reach out, someone who raised their hand and said, "I'd like to learn more." Another statistics really stood out to me as well. Some industry analyses estimate that approximately 85% of callers who reach voicemail never leave a message. They simply hang up and move on. Now, think about your own behavior. When was the last time you called a business, heard a voicemail, and said, "I'll just wait for them to call me back"? I doubt it. Most of us don't do that. We call someone else, right? Not because they're necessarily better, not because they're less expensive, simply because they answered. They answered the phone. Those statistics aren't specific to medical spas, but they reveal something that's true across almost every service business. People value responsiveness. And when they don't receive it, many just simply move on. Now, let's follow the money. To make this simple, let's imagine a fictional medical spa. We're going to call it Radiance Medical Spa. And before we continue, I want to make something very clear. This is not intended to predict your revenue. Every practice is different pricing, different patient volume, different services, different markets. The list can go on. This is simply an exercise designed to help us understand how small numbers can become much larger business opportunities. Now, let's assume this fictional practice misses just three patient inquiries each week, just three. Not three every day, not three every afternoon, just three. At first, that doesn't sound like very much, does it? In fact, it sounds almost insignificant, but business isn't measured over 1 week, it's measured over time. These three inquiries each week multiplied by 52 weeks equals 156 missed opportunities each year. Let me repeat that. These three inquiries each week multiplied by 52 weeks equals 156 missed opportunities each year. Now, do I believe every one of those 156 people would have become a patient? No, absolutely not. That's unrealistic. And that's exactly why we're going to use a very conservative assumption next. And so I want to be very conservative here. So now, let's make an assumption that I think most people would agree is fair. I'm not going to assume that every person who called your office would have become a patient. That wouldn't be realistic again. So instead, let's assume only 20% of those missed inquiries actually schedule an appointment. That's it, just 20%. Out of 156 missed opportunities, that equals approximately 31 new patients over the course of an entire year. So 31 patients over the course of an entire year. Now, let's take that even a step further. If the average first treatment at our fictional medical spa is $800, those 31 patients would represent approximately $24,800 in first treatment revenue. Now, is that your exact number? Most likely not. It could be lower, it could be significantly higher. I'm sure it is. That's not really the point. The point is this: small gaps create much bigger financial consequences than most business owners realize. And remember, we started with only three missed inquiries each week, and not 30, not three every day, just three. And sometimes growth isn't about finding more patients. Sometimes it's about making sure the patients already trying to reach you don't quietly disappear. And if you'd like to calculate what these numbers could mean or could look like for your own practice, I've created a complimentary revenue opportunity worksheet to go along with today's episode, and it walks you through the same exercise using your own numbers. So instead of guessing, you'll have a practical starting point. You can download it using the link in the description and either follow along with me or complete it after today's live stream. So, but here's actually where I think many practice owners like unintentionally underestimate the value of a patient because very few people visit a medical spa just once. Think about your own practice. How many of your best patients return every few months? Or even sooner than that, depending on the treatment. How many purchase skincare products? How many schedule maintenance appointments? How many become members? How many recommend your practice to friends, family, or coworkers? And how many leave reviews that influence people you've never even met? That's why I believe it's so important to think about or beyond today's appointment, because today's appointment could become tomorrow's loyal patient. And that loyal patient could become years of repeatable business. And years of repeat business is what creates long-term practice growth. That's why I don't just ask, what was today's revenue? I ask, what relationships are we building? Because relationships are where the real value lies. Wouldn't you agree with that? Long term relationships. Before you spend another dollar on marketing, before you hire another employee, before you invest in another piece of technology, please promise me this. I'd encourage you to pause for just one moment and ask yourself three simple questions. First, how many patient inquiries does your practice actually receive each week? Not appointments, not consultations, just inquiries. How many people are reaching out because they're interested in learning more about your services? Second, how many of those opportunities are you actually missing? Not because your team doesn't care, not because you're not doing a great job, but because they're busy helping the patients who are already standing in front of them. And that's a good problem to have. The challenge is, however, is making sure the next patient doesn't feel forgotten while your team is delivering excellent care to the current one. And finally, what is one new patient truly worth to your practice? I'm going to ask that question again. What is one new patient truly worth to your practice? Not just today's treatment, not just this month's revenue, but over the lifetime of that relationship. Because once you know those three numbers, you begin making decisions very differently. Instead of reacting, you become more proactive. Instead of guessing, you begin measuring. And when you measure, you gain clarity. When you gain clarity, you make better decisions, and better decisions lead to better outcomes. That's why I believe one of the most valuable things any medical spa owner can do is simply start paying attention to the numbers, because the numbers don't lie, right? The numbers don't tell you what to do. They often tell you where to look, right? And so once you know where to look, you can make thoughtful improvements that strengthen your patient experience, support your team, and create better opportunities for long term growth. And sometimes one of those thoughtful improvements is implementing the right technology to support your team. That's where solutions like AI receptionists can make a meaningful difference. They're designed to answer patient inquiries promptly, respond consistently, and help ensure that potential patients don't slip through the cracks simply because your team is busy delivering exceptional care. The goal isn't to replace your front desk, it's to support the incredible people who are already there so they can focus on creating outstanding in person experiences while every caller receives the attention they deserve. Remember, you cannot improve what you don't measure. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. And if you made it this far, you are a soldier. I know you're busy and I appreciate you choosing to spend part of your day with me. If you found today's conversation valuable, I'd love for you to give this video a thumbs up. And if you are watching from YouTube, please do subscribe to this channel. If you know of a medical spa, another medical spa owner, aesthetic clinic, or practice manager who could benefit from this conversation, please share this episode with them. And before you go, please don't forget to download your complimentary revenue opportunity worksheet using the link in the description below. And my hope is that it helps you move beyond simply recognizing the problem and gives you a practical way to evaluate what missed patient inquiries could actually be costing your practice. Sometimes the first step toward meaningful growth is simply gaining clarity, you know? And that's exactly what this worksheet is designed to help you do. So every week here on AI NOVALUME, we'll explore practical AI strategies, real-world business solutions, and innovative ways to help medical spas and aesthetic clinics grow with confidence. Until next time, be kind, work smarter, serve patients better, and grow with AI. I'm Lakeisha Brooks. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.